Ladies and gentlemen, the following segment of the podcast is presented exclusively by the Heritage Foundation. For 52 years, Heritage has fought tirelessly for America's founding principles and advancing conservative public policies. Much more than a think tank, Heritage is a conservative policy powerhouse, fighting for the everyday American to advance common sense policies and dismantle the D.C. bureaucracy. Our founding fathers gave us an extraordinary system of government, and the Heritage Foundation is dedicated to defending the heritage and carrying on their legacy for future generations. So get involved by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda by visiting heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Like you, I observe different people who are in the media a lot. Mark, so are you. Well, I don't observe myself. I observe other people. Some I have absolutely no respect for. Some I have a great deal of respect for. I'm not a big Joe Rogan fan. The fact that he entertains these psychopaths and these Jew haters is about all I need to know. I'm not a big fan of Tucker's. Even worse, I'm a big fan of Elon Musk. But Mark, you know, the Hitler son, Elon Musk, went over to Israel. He saw what took place on October 7th. I know the leadership there is very fond of him, but that's not the test, really, for us, is it? I don't know Elon Musk. I met him once in passing. Early on, we tried to get him on our various shows. He was non-responsive. I haven't tried since then. I don't know if we could now or not, but I'm not interested. That's not why I'm doing this. Elon Musk is being badmouthed. He's being badmouthed by the ruling class in Washington, including some on the Republican side and in the White House. I know the president is enormously fond of Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a great patriot, and in many ways a great hero. He was part of the left. He was part of the Obama, team there for a while, and by that I mean voted for him. And what happened? Whatever it was, he saw the light. And he did something about it. He purchased Twitter. None of us ever thought Twitter could be redeemed. I resigned from Twitter the way I resigned from Facebook, and I've never gone back to Facebook. He had an investigation done on Twitter. They revealed the information they found that had taken place. Incredible information. Twitter was a bad investment. He knew it was a bad investment, and he bought it anyway. For multi-billions of dollars. And from that moment on, even before he joined the Trump campaign and so forth. He became the enemy of the left, of the Democrat Party and the media. Targeted, brutalized, investigated, character assassinated. Now they're trying to destroy his businesses. He didn't have to do anything. Do you know how many multi-billionaires we have who are Republicans who do nothing? Except sit there and pontificate about tariffs and so forth, which is fine. But they literally do nothing. Oh, they'll give money to a candidate and so forth and so on. That's nothing to these guys. They're multi-billionaires. Give $20 million, $50 million, even $100 million. That's snack money to many people. But when you literally leave your CEO positions and voluntarily commit your time to doing something that you know you're going to be attacked for, but is in the best interest of the United States, bringing in brilliant people to do what has never been done in this country, outsiders, experts, computer whizzes, technological whizzes, to go through the departments and the agencies, a daunting task, to find waste and abuse and fraud, and they found a lot. Knowing full well that nobody's perfect, and that the enemy of the people would glom on any opportunity to exploit an error or an imperfection, when in fact he and his team are uncovering hundreds of billions of dollars in errors and imperfections. Takes a remarkable man. It's cost him maybe $100 billion. Tesla is hurting badly. It's bleeding. Half the country won't buy it because he's associated with it. These are the same people who hate you and me, by the way. They despise us. There's only two billionaires who I can think of who've put everything on the line, Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They've put everything on the line. Elon Musk has done things I never thought would be done or could be done under the presidency of Donald Trump. I served 8 years in the Reagan administration. We did a hell of a good job of rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse. But in all honesty, it doesn't even compare to what Elon Musk has done with Donald Trump. It just doesn't. I'm not interested in bringing him on the show, TV, radio, Blaze, or anything like that. That's not the point. There's nothing in this for me. I'm speaking as a man, a person who loves this country. You will never see the likes of an Elon Musk again. You will never see the likes of what he and his team have done. You will never see that again. It's now or never. We either slash the federal government, the personnel, the departments, the agencies, the programs, now or never. The stars are aligned. I see some of the weak-kneed Republicans already going at it on Capitol Hill. I have no stomach for these people. None. I hear it said, well, if Elon Musk had gone about it a different way, there was no different way. There is no other way. He went about it the right way. You take it head on. That's just Washington, D.C. bureaucrat talk for doing nothing. He knew and he knows the clock is ticking from the moment the new president is sworn in. Your time is limited because the Lilliputians are always scheming. The lawyers are scheming. The special interests are scheming. The long-in-the-tooth politicians, Republicans and Democrats, they're scheming. How do we get rid of this guy? How do we sabotage this guy? And for the Democrats, it's always the same thing. Character assassination, character assassination. Saul Alinsky, they learned well from their boy Saul Alinsky. Target and destroy. And so they target and destroy. As they've tried to target and destroy Waltz and tried to target and destroy Hegseth and, of course, Donald Trump, most of all. Elon Musk deserves our, not just our thanks, more than that. More than that. I'm reading a story now that he and the Treasury Secretary, this guy Bessent, were really going at it heavy duty over the head of the IRS. Bessent won the day. He got his man in. The former whistleblower against Hunter Biden, who'd been the acting, was then removed. Bessent got the guy he wanted. I don't know this guy Bessent from a hole in the ground. He means absolutely nothing to me. Zero. All I know is he hasn't come close in his private life when he started out with Soros or since in doing the things that Elon Musk has done. And of course, he's annoyed cabinet secretaries. Of course, he's annoyed agency heads. Of course, he's the target of endless leaks and attacks, not just by the Democrats, but by the insiders. That's how you know he's actually doing something and trying to get things done. But he had a lot at stake. His businesses. Tens of billions of dollars. His life with the threats that he faces. I'm 67 years old. I've seen a lot. I've been involved in politics since I was 13. I've been involved in the conservative movement since I was 13. I have fought the Republican establishment, whether in my township, Cheltenham Township, in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania, in my state of Pennsylvania. I fought them 1976 when a handful of us young Turks backed Ronald Reagan against Gerald Ford. I know who these people are, and I know how bad they are. I know how lousy they are. How they join in with the Democrats. Because they're perfectly happy with the way things are going. Does he post things that I always agree with? Of course not. Does he say things I always agree with? Of course not. So what? Who cares? All I know, from my own experience, using my own noggin, that I'm thankful this guy showed up on the scene. Almost out of nowhere, Mr. Producer. Just showed up. Helped get Donald Trump elected. Put his neck on the line. Put his money and his businesses on the line. Puts his life on the line. That much I do know. And all the little leakers out there, the anonymous leakers trashing him, and this guy Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, we'll see how good he is. It's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. I don't know him. Doesn't matter if I do or not anyway, does it? I don't know Musk either. But I am an observer, and this is what I observe. I observe a man who actually creates things, builds things, unlike Soros, who moves money around and tries to destroy things, unlike his punk son. Billionaires who undermine this country, billionaires who hate this country because their money is global. Elon Musk is a patriot. He didn't have to do what he did, like so many of these other billionaires I watch, these Republicans. Many of them, certainly the Democrats. I felt compelled to talk about this right off the top because of these cheap shot attacks I'm already reading on the guy as he has announced. He's announced the following in an earnings call yesterday. Cut 10, Mr. Producer. Go.
Starting probably in next month, May, my time allocation to Doge will drop significantly. I'll have to continue doing it for, I think, probably the remainder of the president's term, just to make sure that the waste and fraud that we stop does not come roaring back. But starting next month, I'll be allocating far more of my time to Tesla. And now that the major work of establishing the Department of Government Efficiency is done.
All I know is he's the one that provided Starlink to the people suffering in North Carolina. Nobody else had anything. Anything. All I know is when he's been called on by Donald Trump, he's been there. I didn't see Bessent on the campaign trail. Maybe he contributed to Donald Trump in enormous ways, financially. I have no idea. I never heard of him. I've been involved in the conservative movement, as I said, since I've been 13 years old. I never heard of him. But it was clear during the campaign that Musk was enormously helpful. It's clear during the Trump presidency he was enormously helpful. And I, for one, completely understand why he has to reallocate his time. But I'm sorry he has to. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Listen, folks, if you're like me, you're passionate about protecting our American values. That's why I trust the Heritage Foundation. They're dedicated to promoting policies based on free enterprise, limited government, and traditional American values. The Heritage Foundation does more than just produce policy recommendations. They're mobilizing conservatives across the country. And right now, they need you to take action by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda. Your responses to this survey will help guide Heritage leadership as they work closely with folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. Here's what I want you to do. Visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin to complete your survey. It's very, very important. My friends at Heritage need you to act now to help them maximize the impact on President Trump's first 100 days. Heritage is committed to preserving our Founding Fathers' principles and ensuring that America remains a beacon of freedom and opportunity. So I know you won't sit on the sidelines. You'll get involved, please, today, and make your voice heard. Visit heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/Levin. Please complete your survey today. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation. I just counted the number of texts I got today, Mr. Producer. 117. I just counted the number of emails I got today, America. 219. And people literally expect me to answer them every time they just send me an email or a text. Obviously, if it's important and I know the person, I'm going to look at it and say, no appreciation for what goes on here. None. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's so bizarre. Now, this is an addition. This is a 3-hour radio program. Mr. Producer, open your microphone. When do I start preparing for this program?
Oh, gosh. 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
2, 3, 4 in the morning.
I get emails at all hours of the night.
All hours of the day and night. The Blaze program I have, I take very seriously. We did 3 this week. I've got the 2 Fox shows to do. I get up at 6 in the morning to do the monologue, and then we'll shoot it later in the afternoon. I am not complaining. I mean, I'm not a cop or a firefighter or a trucker. They have it really hard. But when people expect, did you get my email? Did you respond to my email? Have a little bit of common sense and understand that if I can, I certainly will. No question about it. But I am a little busy. I'll be right back. Folks, I need to talk to you about something crucial to the future of America. Our friends at the Heritage Foundation are on the front lines fighting for our conservative values. Heritage is dedicated to promoting policies that will help bolster our economy, protect our borders, and uphold the rule of law. They're working tirelessly to defend our Constitution and the principles that make America exceptional. To help accomplish this, they need you to complete their national survey on President Trump's agenda today. So you can participate in this survey by going to heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/Levin. Your responses are crucial to this survey, and they'll provide Heritage leadership with crucial feedback as they work closely with the folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. By completing this very important survey today, you're standing up for the values that have made this country great. And my friends at Heritage need you to act now to maximize their impact on President Trump's first 100 days. So please don't wait. Our future depends on you. Together, we can make a difference, and future generations inherit a nation that is free, prosperous, and strong. So please, right now, visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin, complete your survey, and join the fight for America's future. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation.
Mark Levin on the front line of liberty. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
I am very concerned about colleagues of mine on TV, some on radio, I'm sure, keep telling us the Democrat Party is dead. You keep hearing that, Mr. Producer? Democrat Party's dead, America. Did you know this? Oh, yeah. They're dead. So don't worry about it. Most of the people who talk like this have no idea what the hell they're talking about. That party's not dead. The Marxists aren't dead. The Islamists aren't dead. They're just retooling. They're regrouping. They'll figure out what it is that they want to lie to us about. They'll figure it out. Who do you think is trying to block right now the Trump administration's agenda? And in some respects, they're being very successful with their judges. Does that sound like a party that's dead? This is a dangerous damn party. It is evil. It is evil. See, if you don't have dirt under your fingers from past campaigns or battles and so forth and so on, and I'm not talking about little campaigns, I'm talking about big presidential campaigns in the primaries and so forth, then you really don't know what the hell you're talking about. The Democrat Party is dead. Excuse me, what do we have, a 4-vote, 5-vote majority in the House of Representatives? We have 53 Republicans in the Senate. Does that sound like the Democrat Party is dead to you, America? It is an evil party. You don't turn your back on it. You don't give it the other cheek. You don't close your eyes and your ears. We're not Helen Keller. Bless her soul. We're just not. And so this is an excuse not to put the dagger where it belongs, in the heart of that party. And so people chuckle. They dismiss them. They don't know what they're saying. They don't know what they stand for. That's true right now. But they will. And we'll hate it as much as we always have. They will. They will keep it up. Midterm elections coming up. If they take one or both houses, they'll see the Democrat Party's not dead. Their knives will be out. The point of their spears will be focused on us, in our faces. They'll conduct investigations. They will do impeachment. They will undermine the entire agenda. Oh, the Democrat Party's dead. Folks, even as a practical, rational matter, you don't have to be in the majority. You don't even have to be in a significant majority to gum up the works through the courts, to gum up the works if you have one house of Congress. Just because our guys don't know how the hell to do it, they do. They do. And their prosecutors, they'll be given the go-ahead in the states and localities. That party is not dead. And those who keep saying it is are ignoramuses. That's what they are. It's not dead. It should be dead. I wish it were dead. It's an evil party filled with saboteurs. But I take nothing for granted. Nothing. We won one big election, and their party's dead. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I remember when they were losing a string of elections. I remember when it was said that the Democrat Party will never take the presidency again. I remember this. We had 2 terms of Reagan, 1 term of George H.W. Bush, then Clinton 2 terms, then his son 2 terms. It was, look at this. We had Reagan 2 terms. We had George H.W. a term. That's 3. We had 43. That's 5. They used to say 5 out of the 7 last presidencies, we won. Wow. I don't know how the Democrats will ever win. We control California. We have California. We have Texas. They can never win. Well, now they have California. And now they're trying to take Texas through immigration. This is what I mean. This is stupid. It's stupid. That party's not dead. It's crazy ass. They're fighting among each other, but they will find their footing. And when they find their footing, we are the target. We are the target. I heard somebody say today, Mr. Producer, that party's dead, period. How do you even say stuff like this? How do you even say stuff like this? Now, we should help them continue to fight with each other. We should expose every area of vulnerability. We should have our own strategies to deal with them. But when you have talking heads just dismiss it and just say things like, well, that party's dead, look at this, AOC and this one, they don't know what they're talking about. And you might remember all the talk about how we're going to win this massive victory during that midterm election when we didn't. Everybody was saying we were, except me, behind this microphone. I said, don't believe these polls. Don't believe these polls. And they were wrong. They believed the polls. I said, don't believe these polls in this last general election. Remember that, Mr. Producer? I said, I don't think it's as close as they say. But I said, it doesn't matter. Act like we're way behind. Who cares what I think or what the polls say? What matters is what's done. That's what matters. But the idea that the Democrat Party is dead forevermore is just ridiculous. Absolutely insane. While it's down, we need to keep kicking it. Politically, of course. You get my point. And as long as they're going to rely on Jasmine Crockett and AOC as the mouthpieces of the party, that's a good thing. We should encourage it. That's okay. But it's not dead. They're depressed. They're down. They're looking for a way out. They're flailing around. But they're lawyers. They're slip and fall, ambulance chasing, good for nothing friggin' lawyers. They're all over the place. You're trying to tie this administration into knots. They're violating the Constitution. Their judges are, with national TOs and temporary injunctions and other sorts of things. And I'm very concerned about the Supreme Court. Maybe we'll get a good decision from them one of these days. This last decision the other day was as stupid as it gets. 5-4 decision. Did you see that one, Mr. Producer? Supreme Court? Neil Gorsuch writing the opinion for the majority, joined by the Chief Justice, of course, and the 3 usual Stalinists. And what was the issue, America? 60 days. 60 days on voluntary deportations. illegal alien says, all right, I'm voluntarily leaving. Now, why do they do that? For a lot of reasons, including the fact that they have the right to get back in line to try and come in legally. I think there's a 10-year period or something. If you're deported, you don't. And there could be other reasons. And so one of these guys brings a lawsuit. I forget if it's the ACLU or one of the ethnic front groups, but they're all funded enormously. All the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. And they're arguing, does 60 days include Saturday? Excuse me? Saturday. What do you mean? Well, we believe they mean 60 weekdays, not calendar days. Or, better yet, 60 days, if you fall on a Saturday or Sunday and you're paying your taxes, Neil Gorsuch reminds us, it's the Monday afterwards in which they're doing things of that sort. Brilliant analysis. And so if your 60 days comes up on Saturday, like this guy's did, you don't have to leave until Monday. Now, let's just pull back a second. Why would the court take such a stupid-ass case? Who cares? But why would the court get involved to extend the time of a self-deporting illegal alien 2 or 3 more days? Not only is it so stupid with all the issues that we're facing in the judiciary to even take it up, but that means another illegal alien who comes in and says I'm self-deporting, and that illegal alien's 60th day is on a Friday, they're out. If you come in on a Saturday, you get 2 more days. So what do you think all these illegal aliens are going to be advised to get a couple more days, Mr. Producer, to come in on a Saturday, right? I mean, how stupid is this? Over 2 days. And Neil Gorsuch thought it was very important. He even wrote the majority opinion. That'll go down in history as a big one. My concern isn't even that case in and of itself. My concern is if that is the mentality, that the Supreme Court thinks it could literally interfere with the executive branch's process over whether or not an illegal alien who's voluntarily self-deporting goes on a Saturday or a Friday or a Monday, then where the hell do they draw the line when it comes to judicial tyranny here? It doesn't sound like we can even rely on him. We'll see. We'll see. We're waiting. We're waiting and waiting. We've got more judges doing more crap today. More stuff. It's unbelievable, this judicial tyranny. And it is a judicial tyranny. I guarantee you, all you have to do is look at the record, as these former federal prosecutors like to say. Look at the record. Look at Madison's notes. Look at the notes that were taken at the ratification conventions. Read them. Read the Federalist Papers. Read the Anti-Federalist Papers. Read them. Read them. If you're going to go on TV and radio and comment on this, there is simply no way any of them would have voted for a Constitution that gives this kind of authority to the Supreme Court or any court. Period. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Listen, folks, if you're like me, you're passionate about protecting our American values. That's why I trust the Heritage Foundation. They're dedicated to promoting policies based on free enterprise, limited government, and traditional American values. The Heritage Foundation does more than just produce policy recommendations. They're mobilizing conservatives across the country. And right now, they need you to take action by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda. Your responses to this survey will help guide Heritage leaders leadership as they work closely with folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. Here's what I want you to do. Visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin to complete your survey. It's very, very important. My friends at Heritage need you to act now to help them maximize the impact on President Trump's first 100 days. Heritage is committed to preserving our founding fathers' principles and ensuring that America remains a beacon of freedom and opportunity. So I know you won't sit on the sidelines. You'll get involved, please, today, and make your voice heard. Visit heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/Levin. Please complete your survey today. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation. I tell you about this site, Mediaite. I tell you about it because it's a foil to me. It is an example of the entrails of the Democrat Party media, but it's not big enough to be influential. And so they want to create some kind of media operation, and it's founded by and run by, ultimately, Dan Abrams. Dan Abrams has multiple personalities. He pretends he's a real lawyer and a legal analyst. He's the Jerry Springer of these cable court shows. And then he runs this crap website. And on this crap website, it's drawn to my attention, again, that there's an article or a clip about Pete Hegseth, Mr. Producer, and his makeup artist in studio. Did you see that? And so this is very important to them. And I posted and I thought to myself, okay, well, your great founder, the Jerry Springer of cable, a legal analyst, Dan Abrams, has the biggest wig on the top of his head than anybody I've ever seen. That's what it is. The guy's bald. I'm bald. So what? But obviously it affects his psyche. Because he went out there and obviously shot a couple squirrels, crazy glued them to the top of his head, and then he thinks you don't notice. Well, I notice. So I thought to myself, how come you don't do an article about that? If you're worried about Pete Hegseth and makeup, why don't you worry about Dan Abrams and that massive fuzzball on the top of his head? Where's Colby? What's Colby's last name? Do you remember, Mr. Producer? Colby Hall. Hell. I know. And then he has a bunch of similarly-minded left-wing kooks who make easy money, basically taking headlines, stories, clips from everybody else. They sit behind their computer or on their iPhone while they're, I don't know, what are they doing? They have their big lunch, you know. Or maybe they're hanging out in the weeds somewhere. Maybe they're smoking weed for all I know. What do I know? But most of them are leftists. They got one guy, Shore, I think his name is, who's sort of transitioning. He's not sure. He goes from right to left to right. Very flexible, if you will. I think he's sort of a bi-journalist. Does that make sense, Mr. Producer? Meaning he's of two minds. What did you think I meant? And so we're waiting for the great story on a Mediocreite. Somebody will send it to me. I don't want to go there. On Dan Abrams and his wig. It's not even a hairpiece. It's bigger than a hairpiece. It's like a rug. But don't worry. Nobody notices. These guys are so superficial. It's like this Jon Stewart. What's it? It's Leibowitz or Lipschitz? I can't remember. You don't remember either, Rich? What is it? It's John Leibowitz. No, he really changed his name because he didn't like his father. Yeah, we got it, John Leibowitz. Got John Leibowitz with a phony name. You got Dan Abrams with phony hair. And you got a whole site, Mediocreite, with a bunch of phonies, frauds, and low IQ morons. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. You know, I hesitate to do this. Honest to God, I do. Mr. Producer doesn't even know what I'm about to say. I hesitate to do this, but I've got to do this. And I don't know if this is an accurate report, but I think it is. NBC News, Melanie Zanone. Republican Senator Ron Johnson wants to hold hearings on what actually happened on 9/11. Senator Johnson said this week that he wants to hold congressional hearings on a debunked conspiracy theory. This is them writing this. About the 9/11 attack, saying there are an awful lot of questions, quote unquote, about the deadliest terrorist attack in U.S. history. Quote, there's awful lot of questions, the chair of the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigation said Monday in an interview with the conservative activist Benny Johnson's podcast. What actually happened on 9/11? What do we know? What's being covered up? Johnson said. My guess is there's an awful lot being covered up in terms of what the American government knows about 9/11. And asked if he plans to hold hearings, he said, I think so. There's a host of questions I'll be asking. As for further details, a spokeswoman for the senator told NBC on Wednesday that a potential hearing will depend on what information and documentation is obtained by our office. Now, I like Ron Johnson. I do. I've said I like him. I've had him on the program. He's a damn good senator, and he comes out of a tough state, Wisconsin. But I will tell him what happened on 9/11. The Islamist Nazis flew 2 airplanes into the Twin Towers. The Islamist Nazis flew a plane into the Pentagon. The Islamist Nazis wanted to fly a plane in either the White House or Congress, but were stopped by the brave men and women on that flight, and so the plane crashed in central Pennsylvania. That's what happened on 9/11. The issue of screw-ups and all the rest of it has been thoroughly examined. If he wants to examine that some more, that's fine by me, but I'm not clear on what he's talking about here. Are you, Mr. Producer? No. What actually happened on 9/11? What do we know? What is being covered up, quote unquote? My guess there's an awful lot being covered up in terms of what the American government knows about 9/11. I mean, go for it. But I think we know what happened on 9/11. I think what bothers me even more, rather than what he's talking about, and I'm not clear on what he's talking about or what it is that he wants to do, is what's happening right now with the Islamo-Nazis and their obsession with having a nuclear weapon. Isn't this what senators and congressmen should be talking about? Isn't this what podcasters, broadcasters, bloggers should be talking about? Shouldn't they be taking this more seriously? I mean, am I truly the only one left? Or one of the few who's left who keeps banging the pots and pans about this? I mean, I am sick and tired of broadcasters on radio and TV who sit back, watch what happens, then they take a position, and then they claim they're leading the parade. That's not the way to think of your job. That's not the way to think of your responsibility. When you're behind a damn microphone or a television camera, take your job seriously. You want a little slapstick? There's plenty of that. Go for it. It's okay. Have a good time. I like to have a good time. But we have an enemy that's about to have a nuclear weapon, and I don't hear anybody talking about the damn thing. Instead, we're going to look back into 9/11 and see what the government really knew. Well, I'm telling you now what we do know. And we have a phalanx of individuals in our midst, among us, who want the American people to be dumbed down about it. Mike, why do you keep talking about this? What the hell? I mean, seriously? Seriously? The same types of terrorists who took down our Twin Towers in the Pentagon and killed our people in central Pennsylvania? They want a nuclear weapon, and people want to know why I'm talking about it right now? Come on, folks. The question is, why isn't everybody talking about it? And why aren't they at least mentioning it once a day? They don't have to do their whole show on it. Oh, I know. I know. There's a lot of fluff out there. There's a lot of static out there. It's a lot more fun. I got it. I really do. But I personally cannot live with myself. I can't live with myself if I use this opportunity that God has given me, that you have given me, to have one of the biggest megaphones on the planet, to play footsie. I can't do it. And I won't do it. Period. The bottom line to me on that issue, and I'll keep moving, I have other things. I feel bad for the Israelis, because in the end, it's going to be left to them to deal with this. Hopefully with our support. Hopefully. But it's going to be left to Netanyahu. It's going to be left to his party and the other parties that have the guts to stand up. It's going to be left to him and them, even if we help them, to take point, and if we don't help them, to take the burden on themselves. And the excuse will be, by some of the people I mentioned earlier in this program and others, it's a Jew thing, an Israel thing, that's okay, drag us into war. I'm going to tell you something, folks. That 9/11 was not an exception. It was not. We experienced the greatest attack on our homeland ever. And it wasn't by the Japanese in World War II. It's not by the communist Chinese. It's not by the Soviets or today the Russians. It's by the Islamo-Nazis. And they want a nuclear weapon. And they want to take us out. They've told us they want to take us out. They did 9/11. They've done more than 9/11. It is beyond my imagination that we have people with microphones and TVs and video cameras and this, that, and the other pointed right at them to keep lecturing you about how this is not that serious, about how it's the fault of the warmongers. Warmongers? Wouldn't it have been great if people were speaking out before 9/11? Wouldn't it have been great if people were warning about attacks before 9/11? I am warning right now. And why do we hear crickets from almost everybody else? Why is that? Why is it? Because the Qataris spread money around America. Because the Iranians, through other sources, they spread money around America. Because the communist Chinese, they spread money around America. You heard this idiot senator from Kansas. I think his name's Marshall. He went from criticizing Qatar to having his head so far up their ass, it's not even funny. How does that happen? Do you know they've contributed millions of dollars to the Medal of Honor Museum, Mr. Producer? Didn't I mention that once before? Qatar. We've had men and women die in the Middle East fighting terrorist barbarians. This is how it works. This is how it works. And you know what Qatar's doing right now, America? I told you I'll move off, but I want to say my piece. Qatar funded Hamas's attack on October 7th, and now Qatar is a mediator who we rely on. They're doing God's work, I heard. Not my God. Not your God. Now, that said, they're advising Hamas while there are mediators. That's interesting, isn't it? It's like under Biden, the Russians were assisting us in negotiations with Iran when the Russians are plotting against us. And here's what I read online, and it's by a reputable source. Qatar, what's the difference? Qatar is telling Hamas, you need to say that you will do a 5-year, 7-year, 10-year ceasefire in exchange for all the hostages. That way the hostage families support it. That way the West, which is desperate for a deal, I don't know why it's not their lives on the line, it's the Israelis, and nonetheless, and we think even Witkoff might go for it. This is what I read online, which means Hamas will not be destroyed. I've told you this is the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the death camps. I had one piece of crap comment online that our soldiers didn't liberate any of the death camps. It was the Russians who came from the West who liberated the death camp. This is the kind of stupid, sick, American-hating, Jew-hating slobs that are out there. Preposterous. And the Holocaust survivors who were very elderly, even the youngest among them, in Poland today, they warned in a polite way, in a respectful way, in a loving way, the hostage families that Hitler needed to be destroyed, that the Third Reich needed to be destroyed in order to save the Jews that were left. Because the left has gotten a hold of a lot of these families, telling these families, get a ceasefire, cut a deal, but Hamas will exist to attack another day, to organize, to build more tunnels, to raise more money for Qatar and the rest of it. That's what's going on right now with the negotiations with Hamas, another terror organization. See, I don't believe in negotiating with terror organizations. I believe in destroying them. They're called terror organizations for a reason. They don't follow the rules. They're not going to follow some signed deal. I thought we understood that with Obama. So ultimately, it's going to be left to the Israelis to take care of business. Hopefully with our support. They will be out front. They will be the point of the spear. And they will do what has to be done, I hope, regardless of all the rest of it. Regardless of all the rest of it. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless that comes with a lot of fine print, like requiring you to sign up for 4 lines plus activation fees, plus. And the end of the day, you've paid for that free phone 3 times over. Pure Talk is my sponsor, my wireless company. They have a much better offer. With a qualifying plan of just $35 a month, you can get a brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 for free. Now, this phone is virtually indestructible. Gorilla Glass captures beautiful wide-angle photos with next-generation camera lenses. All you need to do is switch to Pure Talk. For just $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, more than you'll ever need, with mobile hotspot. all on one of America's most dependable 5G networks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan when you switch to Pure Talk. Wireless by Americans for Americans. Dick Durbin has announced that he won't be running for office again, and America yawned. Little Dick Durbin's been in Washington 44 years. Can anybody tell us 1, 2, 3 things that he did that made a difference in our country? No, you can't. Nobody can. That's why I call him Little Dick Durbin of the great state of Illinois, the land of Lincoln. Nobody can tell us anything this guy did. I told you the story what the late, great Senator Thompson told me of Tennessee. He said the most loathsome senator he ever dealt with was Dick Durbin because the man never kept his word. The man never kept his word, little Dick Durbin. President Trump, outside the White House today, here's the thing. Man's got a lot going on, but you can see he's a patriot to the bone. A patriot to the bone. He sees things, he fixes things, he gets it done. Cut one, Mr. Producer, go.
Well, we thought you said you were going up to launch for a flag. What was going on?
We're putting up a beautiful, almost 100-foot tall American flag on this side and another one on the other side, 2 flags, top of the line. And they've needed flagpoles for 200 years. It was something I've often said, they don't have a flagpole per se. So we're putting one right where you saw us, and we're putting another one on the other side on top of the mounds. It's going to be 2 beautiful poles. Paid for by Trump.
When are the flags good?
They arrive in about a week or so.
The media wants to know who paid for it. That's why he said paid for by Trump. Guy's a great patriot. And not just because of this, because he's trying to secure the border. He's trying to get these loathsome foreign criminals the hell out of our country who are being defended by our courts under this rubric of due process. I'm going to get to, you know what? I've got a big story on this. I think I'm going to save it for Saturday or Sunday. A huge story on this. I just dug it up. Myself. That's right. And so I think I'm going to expose something. I mean, it's been out there a little bit, but I think I'm going to help expose something. That's what I'm going to do. This due process issue. And if you dare to question, hey, you don't support the Constitution, you don't support due process? I mean, come on now, Mark. They let millions of people in here illegally to brutalize us, to take resources out of our economy. Millions of people brought in here, some significant percentage sold into sex slavery, little children and women alike, perhaps men too. And I'm supposed to sit here and worry about some MS-13 wife beater. Oh, no. Please do tell. Please do tell. Like I give a crap about that guy. Neither do they. They don't care either. And as we learn more about this guy, and then he's in a car with seven aliens that don't have papers, with another guy who's known to be to trade in humans. Oh, wait, what happened to Mr. Maryland? Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless that comes with a lot of fine print, like requiring you to sign up for 4 lines plus activation fees, plus. And the end of the day, you've paid for that free phone 3 times over. Pure Talk is my sponsor, my wireless company. They have a much better offer with a qualifying plan of just $35 a month. You can get a brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 for free. Now, this phone is virtually indestructible. Gorilla Glass captures beautiful wide-angle photos with next-generation camera lenses. All you need to do is switch to Pure Talk. For just $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, more than you'll ever need, with mobile hotspot. all on one of America's most dependable 5G networks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan when you switch to Pure Talk. Wireless by Americans for Americans.
Mark Levin, the great one.
The great one, Mark Levin.
Dial in now, 877-381-3811.
So they're after Hegseth now. They were after Tim Walz before. Waltz, not Walls. Mike Waltz. Sorry there, Mike. I wouldn't do that. Anyway, you can see we're living in uncertain times, but I want to play something, Mr. Producer. I want to go to cut 5. Mike Worth, who happens to be a friend of mine, he works at a car dealership, but this is a different Mike Worth. Mike Worth, he's the CEO at Chevron. And he was on CNBC yesterday. He might know a little something about the economy, being the CEO of Chevron and all the sales of fuel and so forth. Cut 5, go.
You don't think we're headed into a recession in your plans at this point?
You know, there's no signs that we see at this point that we're in or close to a recession. There are signs that growth may be slowing. And again, we have to always be prepared for that. But ours is a long cycle business. The capital we put to work in our business isn't there for just a few years. It's typically there for decades. So we really have to take a longer view and not get buffeted too much by short-term market movements.
And the Democrats are desperately trying to push this nation into a bad place. So are their media. And I'm wondering about this guy, Powell, the head of the Fed. You know, it amazes me. Again, they circle the wagons to defend this guy. They defend him because Trump criticized him. That's all. But it was the Fed that got us into the Great Depression, as I've explained, as Milton Friedman and Anna Schwartz wrote in a fantastic and extensive analysis in their book. It's what really made Milton Friedman famous in many respects. And how they tightened the money supply. Now, they haven't tightened the money supply. Rates are okay, but rates could be better under circumstances like this. I actually believe, and I mean this, that the Federal Reserve should be abolished. Now, I understand that gets complicated. I understand I'm swimming against the tide and all the rest of it, but we had a Federal Reserve. It was created in the early part of the last century, and it's an incredibly lousy job of, quote-unquote, managing the money. Its main purpose is to ensure that there's sound money. Sound money. The money's not sound. They created the biggest depression in American history. And sometimes you got to start over. That's not radical. That's not crazy. It is what it is. It is what it is. I don't trust this guy, pal. Not because Trump doesn't like him, because I don't trust him. Because I've watched what he's done. J.D. Vance is in India. He's on the tarmac today. Perfectly legitimate question. It's a question that's on all of our minds. Cut 6, Mr. Producer, go.
Omar Abrego Garcia's wife has been very vocal about how she doesn't think he's getting due process, and she now
Isn't that funny how Becky Quick, a so-called reporter, doesn't mention how she also filed a public form, that her husband beat her? And isn't it the case that sometimes, or if not often, psychiatrists can tell us, that when women are treated this way, sometimes they're the biggest defender of their husbands? How come nobody's talking about that? And so they use the wife, who's a victim of this guy, who was beaten by this guy on more than one occasion. His wife would really like to get him back, you know. She doesn't think he got due process. Oh, okay. We'll bring him back, and we'll do what the wife says. Is that how that works? Go ahead.
Safety. Do you have a message to her specifically?
Well, I don't have a message to his wife. I mean, look, I just disagree with the idea that he hasn't been offered due process. He had a couple of immigration hearings. He had a valid deportation order. I think this idea that somehow that we couldn't deport an MS-13 gang member, and he was an MS-13 gang member, is preposterous. And I think there's actually a deeper issue going on, which is that you see some radical judges at the district court level who are trying to layer so much quote-unquote process on top of the immigration system that it makes it impossible to function. We have over 20 million illegal aliens in the United States of America. Are we not allowed to deport them? Because if we're not allowed to deport them, then what these district courts are saying is fundamentally they reject the will of the American people as it was expressed in November of 2024. We just reject that. I believe the American people elected President Trump to do many jobs, but perhaps the most important job was to bring down the number of illegal immigration in this country. That's what he's trying to do. We're going to keep on doing it.
Mm-hmm. And it's not past time for Congress to do more than push legislation to limit these national injunctions. I don't even know where that sits now. I guess it sits in the Senate where everything sits. This drives me nuts, too. Is nothing a priority? We're sitting around waiting. We're sitting around waiting for a tax cut to help really get the economy kicking. Here we wait. Well, we have our process. Well, move it up, for God's sakes. Let's go. What are you waiting for? Well, we can't agree. Because this, well, you better agree, or you're all going to go down with the ship. It's frustrating for we the people out here. Very frustrating. And then this. Why isn't there any serious pushback by Congress? I got it on the national injunctions. But it's worse than that. It's worse than that. They ought to take this guy Boasberg, who was told by the Supreme Court you don't have jurisdiction, who will not give up jurisdiction, and eliminate his job. Eliminate it. That's what you do. Eliminate his damn job. Well, we this and we that, we this and we that. The Democrats, they never stop. Our guys are, excuses. Landmark Legal Foundation. I used to be president, I used to be chairman. Now I'm what they call chairman emeritus. I was there a long time, and on January 1st, I said, it's time to retire. And I retired. But these are my buddies. The president, Hutchison. We've got Matt, we've got Mike. They're my buddies. I've known them for decades. And so they just sent me a filing from today with the appellate court, the D.C. court, that they filed, District Court of Appeals. And they filed this because were involved in a case. And this case was the case in which we've talked about here, the case in which a court orders to be in writing, particularly when you're dealing with a large bureaucracy. And this judge is already jumping to try and do contempt here. And but in order to have actual notice, it's to be in writing. And so I want to read something to you after the break from this filing that was filed today by Landmark Legal Foundation involving this Judge Boasberg and these Venezuelan terrorist gang members. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless that comes with a lot of fine print, like requiring you to sign up for 4 lines plus activation fees, plus. And the end of the day, you've paid for that free phone 3 times over. Pure Talk is my sponsor, my wireless company. They have a much better offer. With a qualifying plan of just $35 a month, you can get a brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 for free. Now, this phone is virtually indestructible. Gorilla Glass captures beautiful wide-angle photos with next-generation camera lenses. All you need to do is switch to Pure Talk. For just $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, more than you'll ever need, with mobile hotspot, all on one of America's most dependable 5G networks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan when you switch to Pure Talk. Wireless by Americans for Americans. By the way, America, always a friendly reminder, you can hear us anywhere, anytime, wherever you are or not. We are everywhere. They can't stop us, even if they try. Go to Mark Levin Show, click on Audio Rewind, select your favorite podcast platform. If you already have a favorite podcast platform, just search Mark Levin Show. There we are. We also have our own YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com at Mark Levin Show, or better yet, just search Mark Levin Show at YouTube. We're also we have our apps, Mark Levin app, iHeart app, Sirius XM Radio, AM, FM, whatever, everywhere. Airport radar, sonograms. That's right. Sonograms. People are taking sonograms, and there I am, Mr. Producer. I pop up. They go, what the hell is that? Just me. Let me read you some of this while I can. This is from Landmark's filing today in Federal Appellate Court, the court that oversees Mr. Bogsberg, so-called judge, signed by Richard P. Hutchison, also involving colleagues there, Michael O'Neill and Matt Forays. The law firm of Hutchison, O'Neill, and Forays. No, not really. Let me get to the gist of this. Hold on now. Defendants' appellants rely on Landmark Legal Foundation's case. In 2003, that is, the Department of Justice relies on our case, as controlling precedent that defendants are under no judicial compulsion to comply with injunctive relief until the relief is recorded in writing. Indeed, defendants' appellants note that the 7:25 p.m. minute order issued by the presiding judge did not contain language referenced in a hearing held earlier that day. Specifically, defendants' appellants, Department of Justice, note the presiding judge's oral statement, quote, to turn around planes or to return already removed aliens, unquote, was not even present in his order. The importance of memorializing an injunctive order, putting it in writing, to ensure compliance is demonstrated in Landmark Legal Foundation versus the EPA. That's the 2003 decision. As plaintiff in that case, amicus curiae, friend of the court, Landmark, is in a unique position to provide the factual context underlying a district court's decision to not hold a high-ranking government official in civil contempt, and I would add, for God's sakes, criminal contempt, including providing a true and accurate copy of the hearing transcript wherein the district court notified the parties that it would issue an order enjoining the EPA. He doesn't have it, the judge. The facts underlying Landmark are not complicated. Landmark submitted a Freedom of Information Act request to the EPA, seeking agency records relating to the issuance of regulations, slated to be issued in the final months of the Clinton administration. The EPA dragged its feet and responded to Landmark's request, prompting the initiation of a lawsuit. The imminent conclusion of the Clinton administration, coupled with concerns that potentially responsive information could be destroyed during any transition period, spurred Landmark to seek a preliminary injunction enjoining the EPA. Shortly thereafter, on January 9, 2001, Judge Royce Lamberth, acting as the emergency judge for the District of Columbia, presided over Landmark's preliminary injunction hearing. At the conclusion of the hearing, the following occurred. The court, this is the court talking to the assistant U.S. attorney defending the Clinton administration against moi. The court, I'll tell you, I don't think there's anything else you can say that's going to keep me from entering this preliminary injunction, he says to the assistant U.S. attorney. I think in light of all the violations that we've seen here, the court should not give the presumption of regularity to the agency to think the agency will carry out its duties here. They kept destroying records. The plaintiff's motion for a preliminary injunction is granted. The court will order that agency take steps to ensure the preservation of any of this information. I'll issue a written order this afternoon based on the hearing we had today. Mr. Humphreys, the assistant U.S. attorney, says, okay. The judge says the EPA is enjoined from transporting, removing, or in any way tampering with any information potentially responsive to Landmark Legal Foundation's FOIA request. Mr. Humphreys, okay. I want to get clarity from the court. Yes, you said that. If you just read that order, Judge, one more time. The court, I'm reading their motion from their proposed order. The only thing I may add to their proposed order, this is our proposed order, is EPA and its agents and officials to make sure that people understand they're personally accountable to the extent they learn of the order. To the extent they learn of the order, which he says will be reduced to writing. So to the extent they are aware of the written order later in the day. You with me, Mr. Producer? Court says I'm reading their motion from their proposed order, the only thing I may add. Okay. The assistant U.S. attorney says, all right, so the extent of the order is basically just not to move, tamper, or transfer the documents. The court, yes. Mr. Humphreys, and that's the extent of it? Right, pending further order of the court. Mr. Humphreys, well, thank you very much, Judge. The court, I'll consult with Judge Roberts. That doesn't matter. That's another judge who was handling part of the case, and Lambert took the whole case. Anything else the plaintiff wants? He asks Mr. Hutchison, asks him, the attorney for Landmark, now the president. Not at this time, Your Honor. Thank you. And is this, will you be adding the language? Yes. I'll have a written order shortly. I've got another hearing with 34 lawyers in the next courtroom. I will have a written order shortly. And he wrote it. And he put it in an order. We sought to have the EPA, the administrator, and their officials held in contempt for the period before the written order went out for ignoring his oral order. The judge said, I can't do that. It had to be reduced to writing in order to give them proper notice. So anything they do from the moment that written order was issued is one thing, contemptuous. Anything they did before, I really can't hold them in contempt. That's what's going on today.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Where did the show go? Where did it go, America? It's moving very quickly. This is the Power Hour. Hour 3. Over at the Blaze, federal judge issues temporary restraining order against Trump deporting people under the Alien Enemies Act. I'll remind you, the Alien Enemies Act is actually a newer law than your Constitution, filed by the American Criminal Liberties Union. I noticed the American Criminal Liberties Union, a.k.a. the American Civil Liberties Union, a.k.a. the ACLU, hasn't brought many cases on behalf of Jewish students who have been harassed and attacked on college campuses. The mass deportation plans, Blaze News, of the Trump administration have once again been stymied by a federal judge issuing a temporary restraining order. This time it was U.S. District Judge Charlotte Sweeney of Denver, Colorado. It was her turn. She said that President Trump may be improperly invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. So she applies it nationwide. The ACLU argued that those tagged for removal from the U.S. needed to be given the opportunity to fight the deportation proceedings in court. Sweeney prohibited the government from deporting the 2 Venezuelan plaintiffs in the case and 100 others detained at a facility in Aurora that will be sent to a maximum security prison in El Salvador for terrorists. Sweeney opined the ACLU's legal challenge to the removals under the Alien Enemies Act would likely be successful based on other successful lawsuits against the Trump administration. See how they're piling on? Earlier in April, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled Trump could continue deportation proceedings under the law, but also unanimously found that those subject to deportation had a right to defend themselves against the orders. Now, that's very interesting. Has that always been the position of the Supreme Court? Really? Oh, we're going to look into that on Saturday as well. I will have time to dig it all up. Yes, we will. Van Hollen. That's a name that'll go down in infamy. Town Hall, Rebecca Downs. Van Hollen's post from 2017 on MS-13 comes back to haunt him. But he won't care. He won't give a damn. Chris Van Hollen has been talking quite a bit about the Maryland man, a deported illegal immigrant whose real name is Kilmar Armando Agassia. The Trump administration has provided evidence he's a member of MS-13, with the release of documents last week coming to the same day that Van Hollen traveled to El Salvador. And Van Hollen's focus becomes even more curious, given that back in 2017, during the first Trump administration, he was posting to his X account about concerns with MS-13 gang members. Why? Because they slaughtered teenagers in Maryland? The Maryland man? Oh, yeah. Quote, posted Van Hollen, quote, shame on President Trump for tearing apart hard-working immigrant families, he lamented. He also went to reference MS-13, indicating that, quote, we should be focused on MS-13, not scholarship winners. Say what? Say what? We should be focused on MS-13, not scholarship winners. Van Hollen was referencing the deportation of another illegal alien, but a rising soccer star. The resurfacing of this post, which now is over hundreds of replies, is full of people recently calling on the senator to show more care and concern about his actual constituents. But there it is. It's the post. You should focus more on MS-13. They are. Well, how can you prove it? I've already mentioned here that this Garcia, this MS-13 wife-beater that the Democrats are treating like Rosa Parks, that in fact he had his day in two courts. The immigration administrative law judge who said the evidence indicates more likely than not he was MS-13. And then the appeal to the Immigration Board of Appeals, where they agreed with the lower immigration judge. And you better bring him the hell back here. So this lunatic judge in Maryland is basically holding... Well, what is she doing? She is conducting an investigation of the lawyers and others from the government who sent this guy back home. Who sent this guy back home? Now, we have another federal judge, all in the last 48 hours, America. They're very busy. Breaking, another federal judge. Hold on here, all these damn advertisements. Don't you get sick of this, ladies and gentlemen? I don't go to websites anymore, or I'm not going to go to this one, that has these endless flags of advertising coming up. Do you see those, Mr. Producer? And they're annoying, especially when you're on your iPhone. You hit the X and my finger, I don't have a finger like a dwarf. You hit the damn X and the advertisement comes up. Judge Royce Lamberth granted a preliminary injunction last month against the administration. I don't know what's happened to Royce Lamberth, but nothing good. I remember when he was a great judge. Trump administration must temporarily roll back its efforts to shutter the Voice of America, federal judge ruled Tuesday. Senior Judge Royce Lamberth of the U.S. District Court in District of Columbia ordered the government to restore the employment of hundreds of Voice of America workers and contractors, granting preliminary injunctions in two cases, challenging the constitutionality of the administration's efforts to close the news outlet. Voice of America director Michael Abramowitz and two Voya journalists sued the administration over actions it took last month to shutter the organization, following Trump's March 14 executive order. Now, Judge Royce, this is what you should have done if you really felt this way. If you're being a serious constitutional judge. Obviously, you don't like Trump and you can't control it, just like your left-wing friends on the court. Over lunch in the conference room, you guys must be having a blast, agreeing with each other. If you felt so strongly about this, you would have taken the parties that brought the case in front of the court and given them that relief that you gave, but not to every single employee in the agency. You've got the director and 2 so-called journalists. They sued. It wasn't a class action suit. It was 3 people. And so for you to go out of bounds like this, you're no better anymore than an activist left-wing kook judge. Placing on administrative leave or terminating all VOI employees, freezing the organization's congressionally appropriated funds, effectively forcing VOA to go dark. He writes, violate myriad acts of Congress. That's what Abramowitz asserted in a motion. The actions have forced VOA reporting to come to a halt, preventing the outlet from carrying out its statutory obligations to produce and broadcast news globally, the plaintiffs alleged. I think what the judge basically said is you can't just do this, you're president, but Congress has passed a statute and they funded it. And so I have a question for Royce Lamberth. Tell me, what part of the Constitution did you cite for that? What part of the Constitution did you cite for that? Because the precedent all you judges are creating is this. We have an unconstitutional 4th branch of government. It is massive. It's filled with fraud, waste, and abuse. It's unmanageable. A president comes into office. He sees a debt of $37 trillion. That's just on the books. Off the books, it's closer to $300 trillion when you take into consideration entitlements. The country's headed for a debt wall, a massive crisis. He's not slashing the government. There are agencies he wants to get rid of. And we have a judge who basically says, no, you need Congress's permission. And you'll have all kinds of legal analysts on TV who agree. And so I'm asking a first principles question. Judge Lamberth, where in the Constitution are you citing this power, number one, that you supposedly have in the Constitution? Not other judges, the Constitution. And number two, how is this statute even constitutional? Based, again, on the Constitution. I'm just curious. It's exactly what the anti-federalist Yeats said, writing his Brutus. We're creating this judiciary that has ambiguous powers and whose members serve for life. It's exactly as Jefferson said after Marbury versus Madison. All this court and the lower courts will do is they'll cite each other for their authority as precedent. They'll just cite each other as precedent. There's nothing in the Constitution that creates this 4th branch. There's nothing in the Constitution that prevents a president from actually being the executive of the executive branch. There's nothing in the Constitution, Roy, that gives Congress the power to pass legislation on anything at once. It's not a legislature that is free to do whatever it wants. I would encourage you, Royce, to read a really fantastic book by the late, great Raoul Berger, who was a good friend of Bob Bork's, among others, absolute genius. And he talks about the power of the courts. He also talks about the power of Congress, because you have this all screwed up. You have it upside down and all around, and now you're allowing a couple of people to bring a lawsuit, and you're ordering, literally, a president of the United States to keep open an agency and keep those people employed that he wants to shut and he wants to move out of the federal government, citing congressional statute or statutes, but not the Constitution. What would you cite in the Constitution? That Congress has the power of the purse? That doesn't give Congress the power to create something like this. I mean, you want to get back to first principles? Then let's get back to first principles. And this is where we are. The worst you should have done if you were going to do damage, and you clearly intended that, was to rule in favor of these 3 individuals. But you didn't do that. You went well beyond the bounds. Well beyond the bounds. Used to call the presidents, I remember he would tell me, the presidentials who think presidents have all this power, so it's a bias that he has. Now we can call them the judicials, Royce. You're the judicials, who think you have all this power. Now, this is the second time you've ruled against Trump, isn't it, Royce? It is. You and another judge ruled on this transgender issue and said that Trump didn't have the authority to require men to be housed with men. Effectively, that's what you said. It's too bad. He and I used to be friends. There's no way that would happen again. No. This is just too much to stomach. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Tom Homan outside the White House. What about due process? A due process for Garcia, wife beater, MS-13 member, and maybe human trafficker. But the media don't want to follow up on that. They'll humiliate themselves. Cut 7, go.
We removed an MS-13 gang member, public safety threat, wife beater, designated terrorist from the United States. He's home. He's a citizen of El Salvador, a native of El Salvador, who had due process, despite what you're hearing, been ordered removed by 2 separate immigration judges. The best that could happen for him if he actually gave back to the United States, he would be detained and removed again, because he has an order of deportation. And what people don't talk about, the withholding order they keep saying was a mistake or oversight, was issued years ago under different circumstances. The gang he was afraid would attack him no longer exists. The country of El Salvador is a much safer country because of the actions of President Bukele. I don't think any court can order another nation, a sovereign nation, to take a citizen national from their country in their custody and give them back to the U.S. Again, I'm not an attorney. I'll let DOJ argue this in court. But I think we removed a public safety threat, gang member, designated terrorist from the United States who have been ordered deported twice by a federal judge. I think I got plenty of due process. He got more due process than Lake and Riley got.
Amen. Amen. This guy's good. Tom Homan's really good. He's really clear, plain English. Then there's Representative Ayanna Pressley. She's the bald lady. In Louisiana yesterday, she wants to make sure that these chaps are doing just fine. Cut 8, go.
I'm just here to conduct oversight to see it for myself in real time exactly what the hell is going on here.
Really? Were you down there to see what the hell's going on when millions of people were coming in here illegally? Did you go down there to see what the hell's going on when hundreds of thousands of women and children were sold into sex slavery and pornography? Did you go the hell down there then? Have you? Did you? No, you didn't. You're a fraud and a phony and a fool. That's what you are. You're a joke. And then we have Mossad Khalil, who's another Rosa Parks to these crackpots on the left. I like this guy, Joe Kernan, on CNBC. I don't think he gets enough attention. What's the guy's name on CNN, Scott? What's his name? Jennings. Oh, yes, the Bush guy. He gets a lot, but Joe Kernan doesn't get enough as far as I'm concerned. There he is fighting with... Well, let's listen. Cut 9, go.
Go get Harvard with a Make America Great Again hat. Not happening.
Yeah, there is a problem when you can hide your identity behind a keffiyeh, walk across the quad, but you can't wear a red kind of.
You can go in with a T-shirt that says "Death to the Jews" probably and get tenure, but you can't go in there and misgender someone. It's messed up.
I hope that that's not the case.
It is. It is. It is. It is.
This is Harvard. That is the case. I like this guy, Kernan. We'll be right back.
The Mark Levin Show, where the Reagan Coalition meets every day. Call now, 877-381-3811.
Remember when when Governor DeSantis dared to send some illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard? Remember that, Mr. Producer? Remember all the hell that broke loose? So they don't really want illegal immigrants, let alone criminals, rapists, wife beaters, MS-13 members in their neighborhoods. So maybe that's what the president should do. Just start releasing a bunch of them, find out where these judges live, and release them in their neighborhoods. Why not? I give the president a hat tip on so many fronts. What he's doing with colleges and universities, he's not telling them what to say. He's telling them that they have to open up to academic freedom, that these are little Stalinist sort of safe havens, and that if you're going to get federal tax monies, you're going to get federal accreditation, you're going to get federal tax exemptions, then you got to open it up, and you got to stop discriminating against people. You got to stop the anti-Semitism. I could not be more proud of this president. And I want to say something to the Anti-Defamation League. I want to say something to Greenblatt. I want to say something to the former CEO. What a bunch of stupid bastards you are, seriously. Attacking the President of the United States, who's doing more to try and protect Jews in this country, American Jews, who's doing more to try and open up these colleges to academic freedom and free speech, who's doing more to try and prevent Islamo-Nazis from entering this country. And now they are looking at funding sources and so forth. Biden didn't even bend a finger. Door was wide open to people coming in here from the Middle East, regardless of what they felt and believed. I am sick and tired. You know, we have great Jewish groups, too. Don't get me wrong, like Zionist Organization of America, and there are many others. But the Anti-Defamation League used to be a fantastic organization. But now it's run by an Obama former special assistant. And the guy that used to run it, he gives this big speech on the 80th anniversary of the liberation of several of these death camps in Europe. Yet again, trying to draw an analogy between what Trump is doing with college campuses and on immigration and so forth and so on. Trump hasn't done anything on immigration that comes close to what Eisenhower did. He's trying to throw murderers and rapists and so forth out of the country. Too many damn elitists in this country, whether they be judges or professors or think tank presidents. I'm sick and tired of it. I really am. It's humiliating. It's embarrassing to me as an American Jew to watch a group like the Anti-Defamation League. 80% of what they do is good, and then this 20% ruins the whole thing. They ought to shut the doors. Get a new group. Get rid of these bums. That's right. Get rid of them. You want to play politics? Play politics. But don't hide behind Judaism. Don't be a coward. By the way, I've been asked about it, so I'm going to answer it. I'm hoping that the Cardinals pick a more mainstream pope, because I think that is helpful to Catholicism and helpful to Catholics. No more political activists on the left. I feel this way about all the religions, including mine. Here's the truth. If you're a serious person of faith, whatever faith it is, and you really believe in your book, how can it be a left-wing activist? I'm serious, Mr. Producer. How is it possible? You either go by the book or you don't. I'm not talking about these fanatics like the purist Islamists. I'm talking about people whose faith has gone through the Enlightenment, experienced Reformation, people who are moderate. I'm not talking about politics. Moderate in terms of their views. It's my way or the highway, damn it. And if you don't agree with me, I'm going to cut your throat. You know, we don't need that. That's not who we are. That's not what the Judeo-Christian value system is about. But this group, the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, it's like the Organization of Reformed Congregations and whatever. Disaster. All politics. All politics. Disaster. From my perspective, with my faith, the people who have a right are the Orthodox Jews. It doesn't mean you have to be an Orthodox Jew. It can mean that you are a true believer. I am. But as I say to my Chabad rabbi, and these Chabad rabbis are unbelievable. They're in every corner of the earth. They're unbelievable. They're good people, too. I said, Rabbi, I'm with you. I just can't go through the bureaucracy. Do you ever said that to a priest, Mr. Producer? I'm with you. I just can't do all the, And yet I do some of the bureaucracy. But I've come to realize how I was ripped off at a Reform synagogue. How I was completely ripped off. And then they have something called Reconstructionism. The hell is that? They're even nuttier. Oh, yeah. I'm telling you the truth. Look, all faiths have this going on in them. All of them. I'm just honest about it. Honest about it. I have a Chabad rabbi now. People are saying, well, Mark, what the hell do we care? I'm just sharing something with you. Chaim Cohen. Fantastic man. Wife, family, fantastic. You go to Florida, there's a wonderful Chabad rabbi there. These people are great, and they are ensuring the survival of Judaism in the United States. Not the Reform rabbis. They write a letter. We don't like what you're doing. We don't like that you're deporting these Hamas-supporting bastards. No. Well, they don't put it that way. Obviously, I do. You understand? They're suicidal. Writing their letters. Their letters. It's always sad when you see something like the Pope passing away. As a obviously non-Catholic observer, I don't think he helped the church. I think in some ways he hurt the church because of his political ideology. And he was commenting all the time, like on our border and our immigration situation. Or in some ways, trashing the Israelis who were trying just to survive and defend themselves. But it wasn't just the United States and Israel. I mean, he felt the need to comment on a lot of political things from the left because that was the nature of the country he came from. That was the nature of the things that he was doing. I'm just hoping that the College of Cardinals isn't overloaded, Mr. Producer, with leftists. And there's some question about that. One of my favorite popes, let me rephrase that. One of my favorite people in all of history was John Paul II. In all of history, John Paul II. And he will be remembered in all of history. I mean, all the popes are, but he especially. What a tremendous man. Tremendous man. Tremendous pope. Again, I'm just a Jewish guy, but just my observation. Look, I'm hoping. Because a lot of people have a stake in this. Catholics, of course, but what John Paul II did for the world, for the free world, was fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. As the Pope, his influence was incredible. That's why they tried to assassinate him. The Russians tried to assassinate him. All right. Let us go. What's that? Let us go to Steve, Chicago, Illinois. The great WLS country on the Mark Levin app. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing well, Mark. Thank you so much for taking my call.
You bet.
So, a little belated congrats on being appointed to the Trump advisory role. And I can't tell you how much I'm sure all of your fans feel relieved by that. My question for you is, how much confidence do you have in those representing us on May 15th for the Supreme Court hearing on birthright citizenship?
I'm very worried about it. I'm very worried that they'll do more damage. There's not a court, a Supreme Court has never ruled, no Supreme Court, that illegal alien children are American citizens. This court has that capability. As I watch them maneuver and try and figure out what they stand for, other than the two justices in particular who are solid as a rock. I'm worried about it. I think the case that was decided in the 1890s was also wrongly decided, but I don't think they'll reverse that, which gave so-called birthright citizenship to the child of a legal migrant. I mean, are they going to follow the Constitution or not? This is becoming a problem. I see that only 41% of the American people now have faith in the court system, and it's going to get worse. Because when the courts stop acting like courts, judges stop acting like judges, they're no more than thug politicians. Except in this case, it's worse. We can't vote them out. We have no recourse.
In your advisory role, is there any chance you'll be able to consult with our team representing us in that case?
No, my advisory role, such as it is one of several members of the Homeland Security Advisory Council. So it's limited to DHS, which is a massive responsibility. You know, the border, Secret Service, the TSA, and everything else that comes under there. So I'm not like one of these envoys like this Steve Witkoff who's out there. No, I have a very specific lane. It's advisory. I'll be one of several members and so forth, and I'll do the very best job I can to help secure the country. You know, I'm not the secretary, and she's fantastic. I'm just going to be one of 20 or so who looks at various situations, who are given assignments to look at various situations, and I'll do the very best I can. It's not a paid job. It's not a job at all. It's just an advisory role. And the president asked me to do it. I'm not going to say no to him. So I said yes. Steve, God bless you, my friend. Excellent call. I appreciate it. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Ladies and gentlemen, we salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers. I stand with Ukraine. I stand with Israel. And the great United States of America. You folks, God bless each and every one of you. I'll see you tomorrow.